to post it on our website in case other folks may be interested in learning about the projects that are available this semester. And with that, we'll start off with the session. If anybody joins, Elsie, please let them know that it's being recorded, just so they know. So thank you for joining us for the Latino Research Institute's 2021 training program information session. We're glad that you're here to learn more about our projects and hopefully be able to volunteer. First, if you have not filled out the survey that was sent out by the LRI, please do so if you haven't, and Elsie will place that in the chat if you haven't done so. If you've already filled it out, thank you so much. And we'll basically be using that information that you provided to just send you information from the LRI for opportunities to volunteer or other trainings that we might host in case you're interested in signing up and registering for those. Can you go to the next slide, Elsie, please? So this is just a quick overview of what we'll be discussing today. We'll be giving you a little background information about what the Latino Research Institute is, who is at this institute, a quick overview of the projects, and then we'll open it up to questions and answers. You can ask whatever questions you have to our two research scientists that are on, Dr. Eddie Suris and Dr. McDaniel, once they present over their projects that they're in charge of. Next, please. So the purpose of the LRI is we know that Latinos are a large population in the United States, and many of them suffer from health disparities for different chronic conditions. And part of the Institute is try to use our research capabilities that we have to benefit Latinos across the United States. We're also expanding and trying to go international into Mexico and also in Puerto Rico, although Puerto Rico is part of the United States, and to just try to better Latinos overall, both physically, economically, and culturally. Next slide, please. So a health disparity is just basically where we see differences in populations regarding different health outcomes. So for instance, in Texas, there's a disparity between when you compare Latinos to say Caucasian or white folks regarding say cancer disparities. Usually Latinos have a higher cancer incidence rate or mortality rate compared to other racial groups. So with the LRI's research, we hope to, by using scientific knowledge, try to figure out, what can we do to address these disparities with the work that we're doing. Next, please. So this is the mission of the Latino Research Institute, and I'll have you all read that. Basically, we work together with the Center for Mexican American Studies and the Department of Mexican American and Latino Studies and the Institute, and support the interdisciplinary study of Mexican origin and Latino populations, both in Texas and nationally. And like I said, we're also trying to do international. Next, please. So how do we achieve the mission? We try to do this in 3 ways. We try to establish partnerships to develop agendas to address community identified research priorities. So we have partnerships in the Austin area. Some of us have projects in the Valley and in other areas, or we work with multi-sites with PIs in other states on different projects too. We also conduct health, social, equity, cultural studies, and public policy research in areas that focus on children, youth, families. We also have some studies with focusing on healthcare providers and college students. We look at women's health across the lifespan. We also do it, like I said, by national studies on migration and health, mental health, and also LGBTQ health. And then the third thing we do is we try to build and strengthen pathways for successful research careers through our training programs. So we try to, we're working on an undergraduate training program to connect undergraduate students with mentors at UT, and they'll be working on research projects together. We also have another program called IQR My Ads, which is for doctoral students that we do every summer for a week. And if you want any information on these, they're on our website. We also do research internships with different faculty on campus or with faculty at our institute, fellowships, and we also try to build networks to connect students with mentors, both here in Texas and nationally. Next slide, please. So why would you want to be involved in research? So we receive students for different reasons. Some want to work with us just to gain experience, learn something in a new field or a new skill. And so they just volunteer with us and work with us on a project for a period of time. Other folks come to us because they need to fulfill a certain requirement for a program, which could be like, say, a Plan 2 thesis or an internship, or another program like the one listed here, the undergraduate research apprenticeship program. Some folks come to us just because they're interested in social justice, and that's a main part of the mission for the LRI, or some just want to earn course credit. So however you get to us, we're happy to work with you and see how we can make a fit to get what you need achieved, and also help us with our projects and the tasks that we need to get accomplished. Next, please. So why would a student want to get involved in research? So there's a ton of benefits that you may not have considered before. Working as part of a research team is a good way to develop good habits such as time management, how to prioritize tasks, which will help you if you plan to go to graduate school or whatever career you choose to have. It also helps to develop what your personal values are. You can also gain skills that you can transfer to any career. It helps to develop a growth mindset where you realize that you can learn things and achieve these new skills that you never thought you might be able to do. But with great mentors or supervisors, you can learn these new skills. And we also cultivate professional development with the students we work with. We connect them with our networks, with researchers that we know. We help you develop different communication skills. Is it versus email, or it's how to communicate your research like at a conference through a poster presentation. We work on team building, working as a team to get different tasks done for projects. We also build your leadership skills and foster independent thinking. And we're also there if for those of you who are interested in pursuing careers, like getting a master's degree or even your doctoral degree. A lot of us have already been through that process, and we're happy to speak with you like one-on-one so you can learn like what we call the unknowns of academia, questions that you want to get answered and learn more about. Next slide, please. So to introduce the researchers, so my name is Dr. Daisy Morales Campos. I'm the area director for training programs at the Latino Research Institute. So I run most of the programs, and I can answer any questions you have about those. Our researchers that will be presenting today will be Dr. Eddie Sudis and Dr. McDaniel. I also wanted to make a point that the studies that they will be discussing today are studies that are led by LRI staff. These are folks or faculty that are what they call the principal investigator or the PI of the study, Most of these, the PI is Dr. Deborah Barra-Medina, who's the director of the LRI. If you've explored our website, you will see that there's other studies listed under her research projects. She's actually what we call the co-PI. So if you're interested in one of those studies, we'd advise you to contact the first person listed there, who is the main PI, if you're interested in volunteering or have questions about those particular projects. And with that, I believe Dr. Eddie Suris will be first, and we'll have Elsie advance to the next slide to get her started. Oh, and if anyone has questions, feel free to unmute yourself and ask. We're such a small group, so it's perfect to be able to do that. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Morales Campos. The first study that I'll talk about today is called Miranos. Look at us, we are healthy. And this study is conducted in San Antonio Head Start centers. The purpose is to explore or investigate the impact of a healthy lifestyle program on child overweight and obesity. So like Dr. Morales Campos mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, much of the LRI's work is focused on either preventing or helping to treat these health disparities that pop up among Latino populations. One disparity that we see is related to childhood obesity. About 14% of preschoolers aged 2 to 5 are obese in the United States. And these numbers, this rate is higher among Hispanic children. So for instance, across all age groups, Latinos, about 25% of Latino children are overweight and obese in the US. And so Miranos was developed to address preschool obesity by targeting changes in the Head Start centers that these low-income Hispanic families frequent in San Antonio. There were changes made to centers related to physical activity and nutrition. So they did things like incorporate food tastings into the curriculum. They extended time and physical activity at recess. We also engaged parents in this program by hosting parent education sessions on various topics. And the hope is that children who children and parents who participate in this Miranos program will see a beneficial impact on child overweight and obesity compared to children who did not receive this program. And while much of this intervention is complete in terms of the actual delivering of the program, there are many research activities now that we could use some assistance with, and you may be interested in developing some skills related to data management, data entry, digitizing and archiving our study materials. We created a lot of health education materials, both health education handouts and video education that need to be digitized and uploaded and archived into our system. And then we'll also be conducting a lot of literature review over the next year because, like I mentioned, the study, the delivery of the program has ended. We are now focusing on taking the data that we've collected over the course of 3 years and analyzing it and writing manuscripts. So if you're interested in Miranos, these are just some of the research activities that we will be conducting this year. Next slide. The other healthy lifestyle program that I work on is Healthy Frio or Healthy Rural Texas. Oh, if you don't mind, back one slide. So like Miranos, this is an experimental design. So this means we're comparing the Healthy Frio or Healthy Rural Texas intervention to a control group. As part of this study, we had 3 lifestyle interventions. One was developed to be delivered in person. This is no longer being delivered in person due to COVID-19 related barriers and restrictions, but still ongoing are our remote technology and control interventions. And so the remote technology intervention in particular was based off an existing curriculum developed by the YMCA of San Antonio. We adapted it for a rural Latino population, and it is delivered via health educator and technological devices. So participants in the remote technology group are provided a tablet and a Fitbit and a scale to track their physical activity and weight progress. And they attend several wellness consultations and have health education phone calls with our health educator. Our control group also gets health education materials, but you can think of it as like an extended doctor's visit where people show up and attend an orientation, and they're told, all this information about why it's important to eat healthy, be physically active. We provide them with materials to help them achieve their goal, like measuring cups, a water bottle, handouts with recipes on it, and then we kind of send them on their way and hope that they do their best, right? So very much like what would happen if you went to a doctor's office and they said, you're a little overweight, you might want to try eating healthy and being active. Here's some handouts, here's some information for you. So that's kind of what the control group is modeled off of. Participants for this study, like I mentioned, are Latinos in rural South Texas. We enroll both a parent and a child, so a pair for the study. And right now we are still recruiting participants. We'll be recruiting participants through the end of the year using social media. And there will be ongoing data collection through summer of next year. And so what we could really use assistance with for any of you that are really creative or, want to get those creative juices flowing, we are needing kind of a social media expert to help us recruit participants through our Facebook and Instagram pages. And so if you go to the next slide, Elsie, once we look at this next slide, you can see some of the content that's been recently developed to help engage participants in our targeted areas. And we will be, again, needing someone to come on board and help us develop content, help us engage potential participants through social media. All right, and then the next slide. All right, the final healthy lifestyle program I will tell you about is Enlace. This was a promotora or community health worker led physical activity intervention for Latinas in South Texas. So this was a physical activity intervention delivered in the Lower Rio Grande Valley. Participants were women between the ages of 18 and 64. And these women lived in colonias, so these were impoverished areas that typically lack resources in the Lower Rio Grande Valley, which already lacks resources, right? So this 16-week physical activity program was examined in comparison to community health and safety program. This study has long since ended, but we continue to conduct research activities with the data So like Miranos, because the data have already been collected, we have an intense focus this next year on data entry and management and conducting literature reviews for the purpose of developing manuscripts with these data. One example I can give you of a manuscript that came out, we looked at the impact of diet on depressive symptoms among this population and found that Latinas who were experiencing severe depressive symptoms were more likely to eat unhealthy diets than healthy diets, particularly in taking large amounts of sugar, large amounts of calorically dense but not nutritious food, and physical activity did not help buffer that association. So we are looking at things like that with this data set. If you're interested, physical activity or Latinas, feel free to contact me about Enlace. And I think that's it for me.
Hey, good morning, everyone. So I'm tired to talk about the Health for Kids study, which is also ended. And this study was to improve children's body composition by testing a family intervention. And the participants were children that lived in the south side of San Antonio, and there were patients at either the Southwest or Southeast clinics and the University Health System, if you're aware of San Antonio's University Health System. And they were 6 to 11 years old. And they had to be clinically overweight or obese on their charts to be eligible for the study. So the study is a little bit different from the other studies because there was a partnership with a medical or a clinic. So something that's more like literally all the recruitment's done through the clinic itself. And for this study, we need a lot of help with data quality. So again, the study is done, but we still have a few like paper copies, as well as just making sure we have all of our process evaluation data. So we just need to really do like a quick, not a quick, but a very extensive data quality check for this study, as well as we have accelerometry reprocessing we need to do. As this was a lifestyle intervention, so there was diet as well as physical activity aspects. And so children, as part of the assessments, had to wear accelerometers. And so we need help with reprocessing that data to look at different things in the data, as well as there's opportunity for writing papers with this study as well. My dissertation came from this study, and there's still a lot to be written about this using this specific data set. Next slide. All right, so this is not necessarily a project. This is the data services group. So within the Latino Research Institute, we have a data services group that provides support for other researchers on campus as well as off campus. And to the right here on the slide, we have kind of like how we like the data lifespan, our life cycle. So data collection or research data planning and design first, and then we actually collect the data. We have short-term data storage that move on to the actual analysis of the data to be used for publishing. And then there's that long-term data storage aspect, and it keeps on going around and around and around. And so there's many projects that we need help with just in general. And these are projects that just need survey development or survey data verification that are more smaller projects. So yeah, it was just there are a lot of opportunities to get involved with data, like really get into the databases, understand how to create surveys on REDCap, if you've heard of it, or on Qualtrics, like which methods to use to move forward to be able to capture the most accurate data for your population. So this is, I mean, if you're interested in anything data, please reach out to me and we may have something for you to help with. And as well as we'll be able to train you up on data as well. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. McDaniel. So this is the portion that we call the question and answer session. If anyone has any questions regarding any of the projects, or if you need clarification on a task or how it works, I mean, please feel free to unmute and let us know. This is your time to get whatever information you need from us.
Hello, can y'all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Luis. Go ahead.
Okay, if you hear snorting, it's my dog. I'm sorry.
Oh, sure, no problem. A lot of us have pets at home too.
Yeah, part of the reason why, well, thank you for the session and for sharing all your research work and everything y'all have done. I think part of the reason why I joined the session is because I am really interested in like health research, but I think I have like an issue or like a problem with not feeling confident enough, or like I have enough of a science background in it.
Mm-hmm.
But what I am like thankful for is that I have like a grounding in ethnic studies, and that's what I'm appreciative of in like the LRI. So I guess I was wondering, how was y'all's personal like journey to becoming like a health researcher, I guess, or like how did you strengthen that ability, you know, because I know that medicine is like really complicated and everything. So I guess just how did your confidence build up to like where you are now?
I can take that question first. So thank you for that question. I think, you know, we don't all often think about talking about our backgrounds and how we kind of got to where we are because we're here already. But it is one of the things I really do love about the LRI, that it's a network of Latino, you know, researchers, and we love sharing our experiences with our students and helping, like Dr. Morales Campos said at the beginning of the presentation, helping move and progress you all forward as, you know, you move on to careers or to grad school and then careers. So all that to say, I actually started out as a music major in undergrad, and then transitioned to an English major, and then a philosophy major, and then a political science major, and then finally landed in psychology. And I'm still not even at, you know, public health. So I have a psychology degree. My last semester in college, I took a class called health psychology. And it was everything that I'd kind of hoped psychology would be. I always had an interest in, you know, health and why people kind of do what they do, which is why I ended up in psychology, and how we can help people change behaviors, you know, so that way they're living the best quality of life. And health psychology merged my interest in both, you know, theory behind behavior with health and health disparity research. And so as an undergraduate, I was fortunate enough to participate in a research lab with a social psychologist who looked at social cognitive theories of behavior. And that experience in his research lab really, I think, helped me gain some of that confidence in knowing that this is something that I too could do if I wanted, right? It gave me experience kind of seeing how studies are conducted with rigor, right? So even if I, you know, wasn't participating necessarily in the actual design of the study, participating in the data collection portion of the study, participating in team meetings with the lab group, and then also working with the data gave me a lot of opportunity to develop skills that I never really would have thought to develop before, or that I needed to develop when it comes to research, right? I think sometimes you think of research as you're out there working with the people and interacting, and yes, that is an important part of the research, developing those connections and building community relationships. But it's all the stuff in the background that they don't tell you about that really makes the research, really builds confidence and findings, and it really helps, I think, ensure kind of accuracy of the data. And so I would say I did not have a background in science or anything really related, like medical medical background when I started working with public health researchers. And that's because I think a lot of the experience you gain in research labs, these are skills that are, like Dr. Morales Campos mentioned, are transferable. And knowing how to work ethically and with rigor and with accuracy. I think if you could build those skills, you can do anything. So I hope that answered your question.
Yes, it did. Thank you so much. I think that's why I am so attracted to the Institute, is because those skills that you talked about being transferable, that's the skills that a lot of doctors should use, or at least when they're treating patients. So being uninsured and undocumented has shaped my experience with how I handle healthcare. And I know that I can only offer that as support or a new understanding of health to research. So thank you so much for that.
Mm-hmm. And just to add on, your perspective is very valuable. That's why when we have our students on our projects, we try to get them involved as much as possible. We know some have might have a background, say if they're physical education or something like that, they can help us develop say an exercise program. But even your own experience is useful in helping us shape, if you're helping us develop a curriculum, or if it's just helping us transcribe data or anything like that. We try to consider everything as a whole when we figure out what project would be the best fit for you. Anyone else have any other questions? Isabella or Melody?
I kind of did. So I don't really have any background in research whatsoever. I'm a game design and Spanish double major.
Mm-hmm.
But I was interested, are there opportunities in helping develop an app or something based off the research? Because I think for me, that would be amazing to do if I could help develop the application that could go out to, I don't know how it works, but yeah.
And I mean, I don't want to jump the gun, but as far as how we're kind of moving towards, even in public health, is artificial intelligence. And so we are using a lot of game theory, and we do partner with specifically one computer science department at UTSA that we've worked with for many years to help us with our coding. But we are moving more into that space. So if you have any ideas, or if you want to work with us on something, or just as Daisy mentioned earlier, one of those thesis projects, or an undergraduate research project, we can help you. I mean, the coding stuff, we may know some of we know more of the health promotion aspects. We can be able to work on a project together, or if something else comes up in the future, which I'm thinking that it may, we will definitely need your skills here at the LRI.
Cool. Yeah, thank you so much. So if I wanted to do undergraduate research, because next semester, I think I was gonna go study abroad in Querétaro, and I was wondering if I could do the research, like, well, research, because I don't know how to research, but like do something. Um, while I was over there, like, could I come to the LRI for that?
Yeah, definitely. I think that would be something we, uh, are always open and interested in helping students, whether it's through, a course credit type thing or an undergraduate research program or a thesis. We're happy to partner with students and help get some of their ideas off the ground. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions? I know Dr. Eddie Sugis has to leave soon. So if you have a burning question for her.
And I see a question in the chat about ethics. So as with any research proposal, any research proposal that we're involved with, if it's not publicly available data, we have to go through the Interinstitutional Review Board, the IRB. So they help us check some of those ethical issues, as well as our mentors. And I mean, it's a process, learning how to conduct research, learning how to be as inclusive and sensitive to populations, especially when we're working with marginalized communities. We have to seek help from those communities on which, like, best language, best practices, as well as, again, the IRB. So we're constantly navigating ethics as we're thinking about our projects and making sure that we're helping the communities in the best ways that we can. And not even helping, empowering. They're helping us. I don't know, it's just like it's a mutually inclusive, and it's mutually beneficial relationship. But yes, we're constantly navigating ethics. Like, actually, one project that I'm working on with a couple of our undergraduate research assistants right now is looking at body image and appreciation. It's like, well, where do we want to go with this? We could go down many different ways. Do we want to go down eating disorders, or do you want to stay within appreciation? And the ethics around that. So yes, we're constantly navigating ethics.
Thank you for the great questions. And yes, we do, our institute is more community oriented. So we do work a lot with our partners, whether it be in clinics or the community. In all our research projects is how everything is geared at the LRI. Okay, if anyone has any other questions, no? Okay, so Elsie put in the chat the email addresses for Dr. Eddie Sudis and for Dr. McDaniel. Oh, and this last slide is really important. If you have any other questions, please email us directly at the LRI email. And you see that's the first email listed in that little green box. But if you want to email, Dr. Eddie Sudis or Dr. McDaniel about anything they specifically discuss that you'd like to connect with them, please do so. And they'll let us know if they make a connection with you all. Because if you do, we do some just follow-up surveys just to make sure how the info session went and how your what is it called? Your opportunity with Dr. Eddie Sudis or Dr. McDaniel goes throughout the semester, so we can just evaluate how that's going. I think other than that, that should be it. We also always post opportunities, like if you've done the survey, like I said, we'll send opportunities out for undergraduates. If they come up, we'll pass that on to you. And if you can also, like the Latino Studies at UT Facebook page or Instagram, we're always posting events and other research opportunities on there too. So just FYI. Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate you coming out and having a discussion with us. And please be in touch if you need anything else from us.
Thank you.